The essence of the NYU Abu Dhabi difference is a kind of secular, progressive, more ecumenical view of the world, where one saw the difference among people as a great gift, and how if one adopted an attitude of embrace and viewed the world not through the one window that you're given at birth, but rather view it through the many facets of a diamond, not giving up your place, but viewing it as best you can through the other person's eyes. That notion of a university, which was a new version of what a university was, very much flowed out of the entrepreneurial spirit of NYU.
I think at first glance, people might wonder why this partnership and why does the partnership work, and New York and Abu Dhabi seem so different. But I think in all the ways that matter, New York and Abu Dhabi are really similar. There is this energy, this ambient energy of wanting to create and innovate. And you don't feel shackled by history. You feel like you respect history and your heritage, but you're ready to try something new and take a chance and take a calculated risk because you're so forward-looking.
NYU Abu Dhabi was created out of a joint vision of then President John Sexton of NYU and Sheikh Mohamed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. The vision that emerged was creating a university that didn't already exist in Abu Dhabi or the UAE or the Middle East broadly conceived, and that at the same time was the kind of institution that New York University would be able to help build, even though the kind of institution also didn't exist yet within NYU.
All of our study abroad campuses in those days, I think there were 5 of them, they were all in Europe. And so we just thought, we got to branch out. So I thought it would be just excellent for students, faculty. It would be a site in a different place, an important place in the world.
The UAE is a place that values education so much and values educating men and women equally. And so how do you educate students in a world that is more interconnected? How do you prepare them for rapid technological change, more globalization? You have to connect people, and you can't just learn about other cultures from a book. You have to physically move and travel throughout the world to actually get that experience and know what it means. It's better to engage with difference than to be afraid of it and close yourself off.
The government of Abu Dhabi very much wanted a liberal arts university that would feature critical thinking, among other things.
I think it's valuable to have an American university and the values it represents anywhere in the world. So many countries have no understanding of a liberal education.
Sheikh Mohamed said, could I conceive of creating a university which would be as good as the best universities in the world? And I said there'd be a way in which we'd be creating a new norm of what the best was.
I was astonished at how breathtakingly original that idea was, not just in that region, in the world.
Mainly, I was just so excited at the prospect that NYU was doing this ambitious thing of starting an educational dialogue. I've always felt that America's greatest achievement is higher education, and that's what we should export, and rather than some of the other things we export.
With our know-how and expertise combined with their resources and opportunities, it became a fascinating proposition to pioneer this kind of concept.
We want to bring together the most diverse student body in the world, really diverse, economically, from every sector of society, every corner of the world. And we want to bring those human beings together and cause them to love each and every one of the other people in the class over the 4 years and interact with them.
You begin to start asking yourself questions about how it would all work, and would it really be attractive to our students to spend time in Abu Dhabi?
It was a geostrategically interesting place to be. Within 4 hours of Abu Dhabi, you can be in 2 other continents and different culture and value systems.
There were concerns specifically addressed about stability of the region, about the academic participation of women, how that would be accommodated. There were concerns about how Jews might be received and Israelis within that.
They assured us of academic freedom, that in effect the campus would be no different from an academic freedom standpoint than Washington Square.
So at the very, very beginning, 2005, I'm talking to all faculty, anybody in Middle Eastern studies from the region, getting the opinions, sometimes criticizing, and that's a good thing.
Many of our faculty colleagues believed that we were involved in some kind of a colonialization project in imposing the American style on Abu Dhabi. But it was quite the opposite. It was they that were insistent on an American-style university.
NYU needed to figure out the business side as much as the academic side of almost any endeavor it went into. You were constructing a model, really, that could be this big or this big. You're just sort of constantly trying to communicate and make transparent, in our case to our partners, sort of why it could be this big or this big and sort of what's the range.
We assembled a very strong leadership team here to interact with them and lead the charge so that we would insist on getting the things that we thought were crucial to us and try to best understand the things that were crucial to them and be able to move forward.
As the shape of the agreement got more and more mature, some of the negotiations got very tough because we got down to the nitty-gritty of what did these things mean? What were examples of things that could go wrong and were difficult?
We had 3 years of planning of all sorts before we opened for courses. And in that 3-year time period, one of the early tasks was to organize for interim facilities. And we were very fortunate that at that time our partner, Mubadala, showed us 2 different sites to consider for our interim campus. And one was an empty lot in one of the Abu Dhabi superblocks. And we looked at the interior of this superblock surrounded by Abu Dhabi buildings from the 80s and the 90s, and with ground floor retail and a mosque in one corner. And we said, this is the perfect site for us.
Around that time, even though they didn't have students, they had an Abu Dhabi Institute.
The NYU Abu Dhabi Institute was the incubator and would start having public programming and sort of be the place where NYU would start to be introduced to the UAE.
It starts to get the community there involved in what we're doing, understand what we're doing. Faculty will have conferences, there'll be poetry readings, there'll be a play. And so beginning to have an academic presence there was something that they wanted. It's also a way in which we as NYU began to understand what's going on in their community.
April 10th, 2008, I had one of my regular meetings with John, and he said His Highness Sheikh Mohamed bin Zayed would love to have some kind of program that would attract really outstanding college students in the Emirates to expose them to the ideas that NYU would be bringing to the Emirates. The Sheikh Mohamed bin Zayed Scholars Program, along with the NYU Abu Dhabi Institute, would bring the public to our fledgling campus. These were the first 2 programs that NYU was initiating in that country.
You have to deliver education in a different way, and you need a different kind of curriculum to support that. So you need a curriculum that is more cross-disciplinary. You have to have a really globally diverse student body.
To start from scratch, the opportunity to create a research university with a strong liberal arts program from the beginning. The fun of thinking about the curriculum and what could it look like and what should it look like, and having the opportunity to rethink that and reimagine it without being constrained by history or precedent.
It was very clear to us that within an educational setting, we could do whatever we felt was necessary and appropriate. And there was no restrictions on that.
There were also questions about how you build up a research center from scratch, about how you make it focused on research, and so on. So faculty had many legitimate concerns about academic coordination, academic integration, and uniformity.
Whether it's in science or the arts or the humanities, we said we need to give our faculty internal funding for being able to do research. And so we're able to give our own faculty a very, I would say, generous way of thinking that they can have research funding to enable their research work.
I thought we had a reasonable chance of failing when I realized that we had to get 100 of the best students in the world to go to a place they'd never heard of, instead of going to Harvard or Oxford or Beta. That was a scary moment.
Linda Mills and I went to see Alan Goodman at the Institute for International Education, who volunteered to help us in identifying the best high schools in the world and developing connections with the high school counselors and principals, who would then tell us who are the best students to come.
How are we getting students even to consider us when in fact we didn't exist a year before? You couldn't do that in the abstract. And so it was 95% sure that John said, what about if we, invited them and they met the faculty? And we wanted to be sure that we were getting students who were pioneers and who would build and see the affirmative aspects of this project.
The first candidate weekend, when the kids were coming back from the desert, one group was about 30 kids were in a bus, and they started singing Move It from Madagascar. But the difference between the way they sang it and others might is they sang it in 29 different languages simultaneously. And they were completely connected to each other and connected to us.
It was clear that this downtown campus, or DTC as we called it, would not be able to accommodate all of our needs. We were not, by city regulation, allowed to build scientific labs there, nor would it be the location of the student residences.
In the fall of 2007, when the Crown Prince let us know that we were given a site on Saadiyat and even given some options there, I was so excited because I could tell from sort of urban history experience that I have that it was going to be a magnificent and significant site.
How do you actually accommodate, to me, what is the most amazing institution in American history, which is the American university? So how do you adapt it to a situation which is completely different without losing integrity, without losing identity, and without trying to impose identity on a place that is already very well developed? That's at the core of the whole thing.
We had a process underway for sourcing faculty and staff ideas about this. We had all that under control.
The sense of community wasn't going to be produced by strolling on a promenade or going from one place to another, but was by cramming, which is actually one of the things that is so clearly dominant in the campus of NYU, which is density, right? So how do you create density in a desert? How do you actually shape the life of the students and the faculty to be in a place where you can have privacy and at the same time a sense of the collective?
Of course, we worried about the rights of workers. And I think we did an amazing job getting the statement of labor values in place, getting a monitoring regime in place, best practices anywhere in the region, bar none and then some. And it was one of the most disappointing things to think about that indeed in 2014, violations were found, and that was a loophole that we should have anticipated. It is quite amazing to see how seriously not just NYU, but our government partners immediately took that finding and said, now we must go and investigate this. And we did take it seriously and as a learning opportunity, but it was a setback.
Our partners agreed immediately to make those people whole. We set these standards up, we complied with them in the vast number of areas, but not in all areas. And we made recompense in the areas where we did not.
I think that Now that we're in our 10th year, we have shown that you can indeed go to a place that is nothing like the place you come from, that is in fact the interesting thing. Not to be exactly like NYU in New York, but to be like NYU in spirit, in freedom of inquiry and teaching, and in all the things that we find important and valuable about universities, but do it with a difference.
And one of the elements that made everyone work so hard to get this done was a real sense of purpose and a real sense of potential for the future generation of humanity. And I wonder if history will say that the Human Genome Project or NYU Abu Dhabi had a bigger impact on the future of the world.
NYU Abu Dhabi is an example of how to get the most out of liberal arts education and a proof of the value it brings. It's an honor for us to be able to continue to make that case.
What's interesting is that it was one of many institutions that were working towards bringing to life Abu Dhabi's identity, its aspirations for itself. So it fit into a broader framework. It fit into a broader constellation of institutions, not individuals, that were working towards sustaining these values of peaceful coexistence, multicultural dialogue, academic inquiry, the values that we believe in, that is an embodiment of our identity and where we'd like to go in the future.